Parents of Reddit, what was your worst parenting mistake? Put my son, who was about 8 months old at the time, onto our changing table that is about waist high and turned around to grab more diapers. Terrible decision. Caught him rolling off the table out of the corner of my eye, but it was too late. He fell 3 feet, landed directly on his face and did a full scorpion. He's never cried so hard in his life before or after. I held him and just started crying because I felt so guilty hurting him like that. I was far too fearful, and now they are fearful. 3-year-old woke up in the middle of the night and came to tell me she had a bad dream. I walked her back to her room and talked to her about her dream. She said she was dreaming there were bugs crawling on the walls and in her bed. I told her that it was just a dream and the bugs only existed in her head. She didn't get back to sleep for a long time after being told she had bugs in her head. Edit for clarity, she's going to be 6 in a few weeks, and she was not mentally scarred by this incident. 5 months old, he'll be fine. He can't roll over yet. Places baby in middle of king-sized bed and proceeds to finish getting ready for work /thumb. He could, in fact, roll over. I'm sure there are more, but that's the one that really stands out. After my daughter spent all her own money on a skateboard, I relayed to her that I was afraid that one of the times she fell off her board she'd get hit by a car. In less than 2 days she didn't try anymore. I don't know if she had a scare or just didn't want me to worry, but I feel like I took one of the most physical hobbies she could have had away from her by projecting my own fear. She doesn't gravitate toward physical activity much now as a young adult. Well, we're only at age 1.5, so we haven't had any major ones yet, but teaching my toddler how to throw out her own trash has proven disastrous for the things in our house that aren't garbage but make their way into the trash anyway. Most recently, her favorite stuffed puppy who was missing for a good chunk of time. My son is a freshman in college and I thought I covered all my bases, but I realized during Thanksgiving that I never taught him how to shave. I probably forgot, because I have a beard so I don't really shave all that often, but he definitely is not ready to sport one as well. When he walked in the door, my wife asked me why our son looked like Ted Cruz not locking up pills. My daughter was maybe 2 on a camping trip. We had one of those MF pill holders, with some anti-anxiety medicine in it. She got into it while we were unloading the minivan. We noticed some of the pills were missing. We're almost to the ER, and we noticed them laying on the floor bed. Kids will find anything unless a parent asks them. Edit for clarity. Had I known people would read it, I might have proofread. My mom never let me go out with my friends because she was afraid of me getting abducted, so when the time came that I didn't have to ask her anymore, I was too scared to go out. Teaching her how to blow a raspberry before teaching her how to eat food was not a smart move. Oh man, one time my wife and I took our son on a trip to the harbor since he was now old enough to go with us on these trips. After a fun-filled day we were driving back home and my wife glanced in the back seat and goes, "Where's our son?" I guess we were not used to having a third person with us when we went out, so that's the story of how we almost forgot our child. Not me, but when I was younger, like 6 or 7, I ate some watermelon seeds, then got super paranoid that they would rip up my insides. My dad sat me down and told me that my intestines were as strong as this trash bag here. Then he proceeded to test the strength of the trash bag and ripped right through it. I cried for, reportedly, 2 hours. I let her hand go in Paris rush hour. And GT __ and LT, she's alive. She's alive. The other day some lady cut me off and then stopped in the middle of the lane to turn left despite there being a turn lane. I yelled, "You fucking asshole." Then I hear this tiny voice come from the back of my car, "What's a fucking asshole?" And that was the day I taught my 2.5 years / show the word fucking and the word asshole. My biggest regret is telling my, now teenaged, toddler to sing real songs instead of letting her just sing nonsense. Thinking that 5-year-olds don't put weird shit in their mouth anymore. Mine tried to eat the lens from a baby monitor camera. He bit it, and it shattered. I couldn't find all the pieces and he wasn't sure if he swallowed any. That was a funny art trip. He's fine and didn't swallow any. Not getting my son evaluated for his speech earlier. Now he's in disabled preschool getting speech twice a week and not because he is kinda clumsy. Asked my daughter. She said, me. Awesome. Expecting my first to be potty trained way earlier and way easier than she actually was. It turned me into an unrecognizable monster, to be completely honest. Not the kind of parent I strive to be. It was a complete, months-long, disaster. Now potty training my second, and it helps so much that I've waited until she was almost 3. My dad has a few answers when they had my older brother. He was a tiny baby and was lying on my parents' bed. My dad got on the bed, and the baby went flying off the bed and landed on the floor. They claim that's the only time they dropped any of us on our head, or in general. The other answer was having twins. I am one of those twins. My oldest is about to be 5 years old, so I still have time for major mistakes, but right now would be accidentally making my son dependent on me or my wife wiping his butt after a poop. He will do it himself at school, but apparently at home it has to be someone else. This has led to some fun standoffs of us yelling that he can sit there until he wipes his butt. I left my 16-month alone with my newborn for like 5 minutes. She covered her in shit. Head to toe. Shit. Edit, Reddit Silver. Took 18 years, but the shit incident paid off. D. Not standing up to my abusive husband when he refused to refill our daughter's seizure meds because she wasn't having seizures, so when she went into a seizure because of no meds, I was the one the doctor chewed out. I still hate myself for not standing up to him. I had no car, no phone, no money. He controlled everything, and I was so intimidated by him. With the doctors to back me up, he realized he was wrong in his thinking. My kids never ever went without their meds again. She outgrew the seizures. I divorced his stupid ass 20 years ago. Best move ever. Listening to my kids' teachers / principals who told me he had no developmental disorder when I knew something was up. He was 16 before he was diagnosed dyslexic, autistic and ADHD. I want to cry and scream over the amount of time his life could have been made easier, if I had only listened to my gut instinct and not everyone else. Trusted my 18-year-old brother to watch my son. He made my son go on the top bunk of his bed so he wouldn't have to deal with him while he played a video game. My son looked over the edge and got clipped by the fan right above his eyebrow. He has a big scar now. My then 8-year-old son asked me if Santa was real, looked me in the eyes and said he wanted the truth and wanted me to swear to him that I was telling him the truth. So I decided he was old enough and that I should come clean with him. He started crying big crocodile tears, and was absolutely devastated. Told me after the fact that some other kids in his class were saying Santa isn't real, so he wanted to make sure he was before he argued with them. This was 3 years ago, and he told me this past Christmas that it was the saddest he's ever been, and I better lie to his little sister when she asks. Lesson learned. Letting my kids spend too much time away / with family. I essentially kept other raise my kids for like a year. Biggest mistake. Working too much. I missed my son's toddler years working 60+ hours a week. Not telling my 12 years old clearly that you get your period every month. She had her first period in the same week as me. We ended up stopping by at Walmart for some pads / tampons. And she asks me, I thought you had your period when you were 12, yes honey, and every single month since then. Well, the looks on her face I will never forget, and it took her days to process the fact that you don't just get your period once in your life. Not me, but not mom used to yell at people who didn't go when the light turned green. What are you, color blind? Fast forward to my 2-year-old Caucasian nephew yelling at people out the car window, "What are you, colored?" When my daughter was 6 months old, I was trying to calm her in the middle of the night. She shoved away from me at just the wrong moment and launched herself off the bed. I tried to catch her by the foot but just tipped her heel, which sent her cartwheeling through the air. She fell on the concrete floor from atop our king-sized pillow top that was sitting on a box spring on top of a custom bed frame. This bitch was high up. I felt like the worst mother in existence. I checked her for a concussion and monitored her for signs for 2 hours. She is now an ordinary 4-year-old woman. Shrugging, I don't have too many that I can think of, but one really stands out as the dumbest thing I could have ever done, and I really beat myself up over it. When my daughter was 12, I had a little backhoe I used to do work around my home and property. We had 8 acres, and we had 4 acres of manicured pasture with fencing, and I let her drive my backhoe around that area. I often think about how many people die on them that don't know what they are doing, and learned a lot more about accidents on them, but only after the fact. Felt really stupid letting him try chocolate. Now he asks for chocolate at least 100 times a day, thinking that they belong to me. Edit, they are mine. I am a woman. I meant thinking that they would be / do what I thought. Sorry for the confusion.